Corn is an amazing plant, and I'm going to show you how I plant sweet corn in my organic home garden. It's pretty easy. Come on. The first thing you need is good seed. Since seed sales are highly regulated in the USA, chances are you'll be buying good seed. But you need to keep them dry and coolish as you can. A mason jar with tight lid and a small pack of desiccant are handy to help them last longer. Stored this way in a dark cabinet, they should last well for a few years. I like to give large seeds like corn and beans a pre-sprouting. This means they sprout indoors under controlled conditions. I can get more of them to sprout easier than if they were outside in the garden needing more water and care. You can also get much faster germination indoors, so I recommend it. First, you take your selected seeds. For corn, you might want 10, 20, or 30 seeds, but too many means you'll get a larger harvest all at once. That's great if you're canning or freezing, but if you want just to eat it fresh, you plant a new small batch every 10 or 15 days. But this means you must take more care at pollination time. More of that on another video. After a day of soaking, the hard seed coat of the corn will be permeated by water, which will start the germination process. But now the seed must be removed from the water before it starts fermenting. Take the seeds out and put them on a paper towel of adequate size. Too much is way better than too little. The heavy blue paper shop towels are great, but we use these regular kitchen towels just fine. Put the seeds out onto a towel. The towel should be wet and folded over the seeds to enclose them. Then they're placed into a plastic bag and left in a warmish place out of direct sun. In the old days, we used to put them on the fridge or TV, but these appliances are more efficient now and don't generate the heat the same as the old ones. If you have a seedling heating mat, that works just great. I have one, but I don't bother pulling it out just to pre-sprout corn when the days are already warm. Corn needs warmth to grow. That's why it's really a good thing to pre-sprout it, especially earlier plantings when the ground is cool. The seeds are more likely to not sprout if the soil is too cool. You should be able to dig a few inches down with your fingers and not feel cold. People talk about degrees, 65 minimum soil temps, a few inches down is what they say. I almost always pre-sprout. I find it easier in the end. Here it is after a few days in the towels, in the cabinet, in the kitchen. Note the roots. Take care not to jostle them as they can break off easily. Some of them have fine root hairs. Nice looking roots. Now we take them out to a garden. If it's spring, I don't want to plant too deep. The soil will be cool. So I dig a basin out, pile the soil to one side to replace around the plants later as they grow. I dig the basin out a few inches deep. I plant one seed, covering it with about an inch of soil. This means the seed will be close to the surface to get the heat of the sun, so it will be in warmer conditions. But if it's summertime like now, I can plant the seed much deeper. This means it'll be deep in the cooler soil, not so subject to the sterilizing heat of the noontime sun with its blistering heat. The seed will be warm and cozy, but not blasted. It'll be able to push up through my soft soil easily once it sprouts, and it'll be deeply and firmly rooted with its roots already deep in the cool soil and moisture. It's handy to learn the technique of holding the seed in your hand while using your fingers punching to the soil, opening up, dropping the seed, and then covering it up. Pat the soil down some, but there's no need to mash it. The soil's biological engine needs air, moisture, and biology. If you squeeze out the air, you'll lose the biology. Also, the seed roots are tender right now. The irrigation alone will ensure the soil is firm around the seeds. Yes, this is a hard and fast soaking flood irrigation. It's not for everyone, but in this waffle garden, the hard sides reduce water loss to the sides, and I can scoop the area out a bit to ensure water stays in the beds and soaks down deep into the soil nicely. After a heavy irrigation like this, the seeds will be firmly held in contact with the soil and moisture. They are planted pretty deep, a good 2, almost 3 inches. If your soil is not nice and fluffy, it might be too deep. A heavy soil requires more of a shallow planting depth so that green stalk can push up through the soil, living only on its stored resources. Give a heavy irrigation to set the roots in place. Ensure the water is a few inches below the corn seed's depth to encourage the roots to reach directly down into the moist soil. You want to train the roots to grow down deep into the soil. This irrigation is just the first one. In the coming weeks, you'll get several irrigations like this to push water deeper into the soil, into the deep soil, that soil mass deep down. You see, the majority of the plant's biomass is underneath the soil, and in the heat it's good to have your roots very deep where the minerals are, where the soil moisture can be held longer, and where it's cool to help keep the entire plant cooler. But this is easier to do in a living soil that has air and biology working its way deep down into the subsoil. In many soils, you wind up building a plowpan layer that tends to restrict the roots. In a living soil, especially a no-till soil, you can have a soft, permeable soil that has deep tunnels made by the previous season's roots going deep into the soil. This gives an easy pathway for the roots to grow and progress through the soil. These pathways will have the soil biology sitting, waiting for the next root to grow to them and stimulate and waken them from a dormancy between seasons. In this way, a living no-till soil can help a plant grow strong from the beginning, giving you more reward for less work. This is also why it is important to maintain the soil conditions between seasons with a mulch and a living cover crop if possible. Just having living roots in the soil at all times can greatly help a soil thrive. Wishing you the best in your gardening. See ya.